Hey guys, welcome back to At Liminal Period. It's your girl, Chun-Li Shoddy. So Kamala Harris' campaign team is back at it again with their deceptive marketing tactics, and this time they're updating Google search ads to look like news headlines that are in favor of Kamala Harris. Not too long ago, they were editing Joe Rogan podcast to make it seem as though he was in support and in favor of Kamala Harris, when in reality he was talking about Tulsi Gabbard. So today I just want to share another example with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it.
A brand new Axios report revealing that the Harris campaign has been editing news headlines to make her look good. Now, we're told that the media outlets whose headlines have been butchered, basically changed, had no knowledge that this was going to happen or that it's been happening. This graphic from Axios shows great headlines for Harris within Google search ads. So when you Google, the fake stuff comes up instead of the actual headlines from outlets like the Associated Press, Reuters, and CBS News. However, these search results were purchased by the Harris campaign. So you got to look for the little sticker that says sponsored. They link to real articles, but the campaign manipulated the headlines and descriptions to glow up Kamala.
I think it's really important for us to note because most people are just going to read the headlines or read a title and click on something that is sensationalized. They're not actually going to be reading the full article to get the context of the story.
A source familiar with the Harris team is telling Axios that the campaign buys search ads with news links to give voters, quote, more context. The report also points out the Trump campaign is not running these types of ads. Kellyanne, we call it glow up, embellishment, whatever you want to call it. The media outlets say they didn't know.
Maybe, but either way, it's deceptive and gaslighting. The real point here for the viewers to appreciate is that the Harris campaign thinks they can get away with redoing media headlines and that the media won't mind. They treat the mainstream media, Harris, like a wholly owned subsidiary of the Harris-Walz campaign. They don't pursue them any more than they pursue loyal Democratic liberal voters. Why would you spend a dime chasing them? You've already got them. And that's the way they're treating the media, whether it's refusing to sit down for any kind of interviews, taking any kind of easy or hard question while she's under wing on the plane, or just taken to the podium. But this is manipulation of the American mind. Most of the headlines already favor her. Time magazine just put her on the cover, and the most important piece of the entire cover story about Kamala Harris, quote, her movement, redefining Kamala Harris is, quote, the Kamala Harris campaign refused to make her available for an interview. She's not participating in glowing profiles about her. So this was the next stage in that repertoire, which is take a headline, manipulate it, and make it look like it's news, not opinion. Make it look like it's facts and figures, not a run-of-the-mill paid political ad. If I were those outlets, I would do one thing. We are no longer going to cover your rallies, your speeches, nothing, your schedule, until you sit down for an interview.
There you go.
You apologize for this, you take them down, and you put out a public statement.
Yeah.
Her first interview should just be a public statement straight to camera. We screwed up. This is, I don't know if it's illegal, but it certainly is unethical.
Yeah, so it doesn't break with Google's search engine platform, just so you know, because it says that you can clearly see the sponsored ad, marking on the page that they've messed with. So that's supposed to do it. But we know how quickly people are scrolling and clicking, Emily. I said on the Focus, I don't know if that's enough to get people's attention. I mean, if it's fake, you ought to mark it fake or misinformation. Remember how they went after people who had simple questions about COVID? And I was one of them. You get marked, you get stickered. You got to make it bold.
Yes, you must be reading.
Even when it comes to social media, when you're a social media influencer and you're working with a company and you're a sponsored or you're a partnership, you have to put hashtag ad or hashtag promo. You have to make it known that this is sponsored and your opinion is paid for.
In my mind, because that's exactly what I was thinking, how the delicacy, the subtlety of the sponsored tag here is in such stark contrast to the blatant removals of posts where people dare to ask questions. In fact, it's still going on with people who aren't even asking questions. They're saying something unrelated. They've mentioned something that in the big constellation could be tied back to a topic or a point that the humans behind the algorithms deemed unacceptable to them,
That's
and
right.
that's why it's removed. So everyday average Americans civilians, veterans, active duty military, people in law enforcement, people who dare to vote for Trump. Everyone who is just trying to get along here, they're the ones that are being suppressed and wiped away, and yet here, blatant manipulation. Could you imagine if Donald Trump had done this with his campaign? Could you imagine if there was even one slight purchase of an ad with the then rewriting of the headline, the uproar that we would be subjected to? And here, you're right. Not only do they know they can get away with it with the media, but they know that they can get away with it with the liberal voters, and that is the saddest part.
Doctor?
I want to put my attention on something different, which is what is news to begin with? They're outraged now because this is being made into ads. What exactly is news? I remember the first op-ed I ever wrote for the New York Times, and I've written for many papers around the country, as you know. And I tried to criticize something that was on the front page, and they said, no, doctor, op-ed means the page across from editorial, not that you can disagree with anybody. So that's now devolved into a situation where newspapers are pundits, essentially, where they come out rooting for somebody. And that entire left-wing media is rooting for Harris, and that is what Trump is against.
When they're complicit, then, to Kellyanne's point, I mean, they're taken for granted. So when these media outlets don't come out and say, look, we didn't know, and they have talked to Fox News Digital and said they didn't know that this was happening or that it happened.
But I don't understand how you don't know when it was bought. That means you have to have had someone to sell it, right?
That is happening. Well, where is that next line, what Kellyanne was talking about in terms of it's not acceptable? And we don't want to give you any more coverage until we have access to the candidate. Where is that part? Because that must be oppositional, like you were when you wanted to, disagree with something on the front page.
They're not. He doth protest too much. I mean, they're protesting, but Mike, right? Your point is exactly right. They're not protesting enough. But the second point is, what are these headlines to begin with that are being used to be distorted in this situation?
Well, they're all glowing.
They're all glowing, and they shouldn't write headlines that somebody can even use in a campaign ad.
Yeah, look, Axios said this makes it appear like media outlets are on the side of Kamala Harris. They are on the side of Kamala Harris. All you have to do is go and read the homepages of CNN, NBC, so on and so forth. This has happened to a dozen outlets since August 3rd. So these are the outlets it's happened to: The Independent UK, NPR, AP, The Guardian, USA Today, PBS, CNN, CBS News, Time Magazine. Their statements in reaction have been mild. The only one I could find was the one from The Guardian that put together a few sentences about this. The Guardian, and I just was laughing as I read this, while we understand why an organization might wish to align itself with The Guardian's trusted brand, we need to ensure it's being used appropriately. The Guardian's trusted brand yesterday put out an opinion piece by an ex-Twitter executive suggesting that Elon Musk should be arrested for hosting Donald Trump. So that's the Guardian's trusted brand, right? You want to be a trusted brand? All 12 of these outlets should come together in outrage and issue a joint statement saying this is unhealthy for democracy, it's unhealthy for journalism, it's unhealthy for the media. Anything short of that is complicity in Kamala Harris's attempt to deceive America. They're the liberal media, folks. If you needed more proof, just look at the Axios.
Why are they doctoring headlines that say Kamala's been great as the borders are?
Because it's not
Inflation's
enough.
way down. She's going to get us out of Ukraine and Israel. Well, it's also not true.
Because those unearthed videos keep floating to the top of the feed when you search.
And we all know there's only...
And I know she say it's not enough because it's not true, but the thing is that there are plenty of liberal and Democratic voters that are going to take those headlines and take that as fact. So for them, it does become true. It does become their reality despite what their living conditions are.
One Harris around here that we trust. Tell us the truth. But Harris, seriously speaking, I think that these headlines being doctored is the same sign of the times as of Kamala Harris as the candidate in the first place. Just make them whatever you need them to be. Everything is just existential and equivalent. Whatever you need that to be, whatever I need her to be, I'm just going to slap on her regardless of her record and her attributes and her skills. And the same thing with these headlines. Whatever you need them to be, it's fine. Nobody will notice.
I find it hard to believe that, first of all, The Guardian had an op-ed, and they can have that, but not to push back when your own words are manipulated just seems more than complicit. It's weak. And I do question the idea, are they just trying to ingratiate themselves by not being too difficult in this moment so they can get a sit down with Kamala?
I think they think we're stupid.
Yep. Oh, gosh. Let's hope that's not it.
So I hope you guys understand why I felt the need to share this story. I will be linking the full story in the description box down below. But yeah, please be more mindful as far as what you guys are reading and hearing. And again, please do point me in the right direction if I ever have anything wrong. But I've enjoyed this conversation. Hope you guys did too. And I look forward to speaking with you guys next time. Bye.